All right, what is going on? Welcome into Chatterbox Reds, the offseason edition. Nick Kirby joined once again by my friend Mike Hart, and we're going to go through some potential trade targets in this episode for the offseason for the Reds. We'll jump into that. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of our thoughts on if trades are likely or not. But Mike, my friend, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating our friend Gino Suarez and Luis Castillo in the World Series after tonight. I think they're winning right as of right now, but it'd be cool to see them at least try to take a bite out of the juggernaut Dodgers.
Yeah, up 3-1 as we're recording this in the bottom of the sixth. So yeah, that would be fun. Hopefully, as you're listening to this, it didn't go south and Mike just jinxed them, and we'll
Yeah,
blame it
sorry.
all on Mike if so. If you wake up on a Tuesday morning and the Mariners are toast, it's Mike's Hart's fault.
That's right.
Uh, but on a serious note, Mike, glad to have you on. I said one of our last episodes, or kind of when we started talking about the offseason, I said I thought that trades were the more likely route for the Reds than free agency. And me and you, we talked about free agency. Everyone loved my idea of Josh Bell. My like seventh idea out of the ideas I threw out there. But it feels like trades will be the way the Reds go again. The Reds did a lot of trades last year. Do you kind of have that same feeling?
Yeah, I think so. It allows for them to be a little bit more flexible, payroll wise, which is what I think that they're looking for because it's kind of the idea is if you're trading major league assets like they did with India, they're able to then take on some more flexibility or payroll like they did with Brady Singer. So I think that aspect of it also allows them to trade from kind of a strength of theirs, which would be, I would say that their farm system would be considered a strength. It's not the best in baseball, but it's definitely got some trade pieces in there that I think people would be interested in. So I think it allows them with their current limitations that they have imposed on themselves for salary to be able to add players that are going to hopefully make this team better without a huge spike in payroll.
Yeah, and there's also doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of really good like mid-tier free agents this offseason. To be quite honest, when we were kind of going through the list, it's like Austin Hayes and Miguel Andujar look like kind of the best of that like level of player out there. So I do think there's a potential that one of those guys could return to the Reds. But for today's show, we're gonna run through Spotrac did a list of the top, I think it was 36 names of free agents. And then I added about 5 or 6 more just that I kind of saw from some other sites. And we're going to do this more of a rapid fire style. We're not going to dive into each one of these because these are needle in a haystack type things. But we're just going to kind of give you an idea of hopefully some players that are available, some players that might make sense for the Reds. And then certainly as the season goes on, the offseason goes on, and there's actual rumors and we have actual tidbits of information about what type of players the Reds are targeting, what teams they might be targeting, or actual rumors of a player going to the Reds. We'll try to address each one of those and give our thoughts on that. But this will be kind of a more fun, overarching look at this. And I'll preface this by saying if we did this same show a year ago, I doubt that there would be a list that would have included Gavin Lux, Jose Trevino, or Brady Singer. Probably weren't even on any of those lists. And the Reds seem to acquire the players that aren't on any of these types of lists. So I'd preface that by saying there's a good chance none of these players end up on the Reds, but we're going to have some fun with it, and maybe one of them will. So, Mike, you ready to get rolling?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to run through the catchers. I don't think the Reds are going to add a catcher unless they did some sort of wheeling and dealing where they sent Tyler Stevenson out and they tried to reacquire someone. Doesn't seem like that would make a whole lot of sense, but they have Adley Rutschman and Ryan Jeffers. Obviously, Rutschman would be an attractive player. The Orioles have another guy moving up that they're excited about. I just don't see any catchers being added.
Yeah, and I think you would be buying at, they Orioles would be selling at their absolute lowest. This is the former number one overall prospect. I have a hard time seeing that. Plus, I think one thing that I think people aren't thinking about with Stevenson is that a lot of his value kind of is brought down by his poor framing, which is going to be mitigated in part because of ABS coming next year, right? He was 98th percentile when it came to blocking and things like that. And then his offense is starting to come around. It was framing that was an issue. And I think that we're going to even be able to see even more productive Tyler Stevenson because of the ABS system.
All right, we'll move on to the first baseman. Two very intriguing names, kind of right off the rip, of players that I think there could actually be some potential of the Reds trying to acquire, and that is Yandy Díaz and Ryan Mountcastle. We'll start off with Diaz, and we'll talk about both of these guys just because they are so interesting. Yandy Díaz, I think me and you probably both agree would kind of be a dream addition this offseason, a guy that has had a really, really good run of success the last couple years, last several years. I mean, since 2018, looks like he has a WRC plus of 110 or better every year. How about the last 4 years? 145, 163, 120, and 135. I mean, that is a bona fide star hitter. That when we did the free agents, like Schwarber was like the only one, like even Cody Bellinger, I don't think put up that consistent level of that. But that's why I think Yandy Díaz, it would require a massive haul to get him. Yandy Díaz only has, I had it in front of me, he only has one more year and then a club option for 2027. Obviously, Yandy Díaz is a guy that I think we'd love, but the price would cost a lot. And I know he's a guy the Rays like a lot too.
Right. And I think that's a huge part of it is that you'd be trading with the Rays. Everything that you said plus way more they're aware of. I think they were shopping him at the trade deadline this year and they didn't get the offer that they wanted, so they held on to him because I think he's projected 12 million, which is a steal for a guy that's going to bat 300, have 25 RBI or 25 home run and 140 WRC plus. So that would take a haul to get him from Tampa Bay. But boy, I would love to have that guy who hits righties and lefties right in the middle of our lineup. You DH every day. You can play first base every once in a while, and boy, that would add a spark that the Reds would really, really benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you would, if you acquired Diaz, you just would make Sal Stewart your everyday first baseman. Stewart needs a day off. Well, Yandy Díaz can play first base. And if somehow there was some injuries or things, he could play. But yeah, you'd be a guy you'd be bringing as a DH. And at 34 years old, I think he'd be a guy you'd probably want a DH to kind of preserve him a little bit more. But the way that he is up there in age maybe makes it a little more likely the Rays really try to move him this offseason. A guy that I think is probably even more likely to maybe get moved this offseason and could be a really good fit team to team wise will be Ryan Mountcastle. Had a down year, dealt with a hamstring injury, only ended up playing 89 games in 2025 for the Orioles. But prior to that, I mean, it had a really solid career. He's got a career 107 WRC plus. But he only has one more year of team control. And the Orioles obviously are a team that is desperate for pitching. I just don't know if Ryan Mountcastle, I don't think any of the Reds pitching there'd be enough coming back from the Orioles side. I think it would almost have to be maybe Mountcastle and a prospect for Singer could maybe be something that I could see a type deal, but I don't think Singer straight up for Mountcastle works for me.
Right. I completely agree. When you're giving up pitching like that, especially um, from something that we've seen depth been questioned over the not this year and hopefully into the future as well with potential injuries and things like that, giving up something like that for Ryan Mountcastle, who when I look at the stats and I look at it, to me just seems like similar to Spencer Steer, not as good defensively as Spencer Steer. Obviously, Spencer Steer is the Gold Glove finalist and has had better offensive numbers in the past, but last year really struggled. And it's just like it would be tough for me to trade away somebody like Brady Singer, who was so valuable for this team, for somebody that maybe is an upgrade from Spencer Steer, but maybe isn't. And so that's where that would be tough for me. To have Mountcastle added in.
Yeah. Mountcastle definitely does have at least, I think, maybe a higher ceiling for power than some of the guys the Reds have run out there. Did hit 33 back in 2022, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries the last couple years that have kind of hampered him. Interesting guy, love to get him, but I don't know if the Reds will be the team that would give up enough to move that over the needle. A lot of intriguing guys at second base, and I'm not in the idea of acquiring a second baseman like I think a lot of Reds fans might be. I'm fully committed to trying Matt McLain there on opening day and hoping that works out. And I think you have to make a risk somewhere. And Matt McLain's the one guy I'm worth making that my risk for. But the thing that makes the second base class interesting is most of the second basemen are guys that have a lot of position flexibility, which is why we'll run through them. But they have listed Jeff McNeil, Jazz Chisholm, Brandon Lowe, Ozzie Albies, and Brendan Donovan. I think we're probably in agreement. Albies is out. I don't think Albies is a better version than Matt McLain. I mean, I think it's kind of the same type player, a guy that can hit lefties, but that's about it. Jazz Chisholm, I just don't see how that would be something that would work for the Reds. The other three are interesting. Jeff McNeil's making so much money that it makes it hard. He's still 17 plus million next year. Brandon Lowe, though, a guy that hit 31 home runs for Tampa Bay last year. That certainly is something that intrigues me. But the player that I like the most out of that group is Brendan Donovan. I don't know if people realize just how good of a player Brendan Donovan has really been the last couple years. Was 3.2 wins above replacement in 2024, 2.9 in 2025. Has WRC plus the last 4 years, 127, 118, 115, 119. I don't think the Cardinals want to trade in division, but I think that that's starting to kind of go away a little bit, Mike. Reds obviously acquired Brian Hayes. I think teams don't care as much about that as they used to. They just want to get the best return. Brendan Donovan, with the guy that can play multiple positions, would check a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, has the outfield flexibility as well as we saw this year, and frankly was I think the Cardinals' best hitter this year on a season that obviously didn't go as well as they thought or they wanted to, and yeah, that flexibility plus he what he does is he brings a lot of what Tito and the organization is looking for when it comes to this idea of like squaring the ball up and hitting the ball, not striking out as much, and getting on base and things like that, and having a higher batting average. We can be frustrated about it with our team because it feels like we're trying to fit people that aren't that way into the whole of, hey, be good at batting average and hit that way. But I'm okay with it if we bring in people that's what they excel at, right? And that's what Brendan Donovan would be, right? He's not going to hit for a lot of power, but he's going to get on base and he's going to get, do a lot of table setting and be able to play multiple positions in a way that I think that our front, or at least Tito and company, are looking for. So yeah, I think that would be great. I don't know why the Cardinals would trade him. I'm not sure if there's any prospect that he's
The Hein
blocking.
Bloom, I think the Hein Bloom intrigues a lot of people. I think that they're curious to see if a lot of the Cardinals not being as aggressive with trade was because they wanted Hein Bloom to kind of be the guy in charge and kind of be able to do exactly what he wants. I do think he will probably in some ways want to make somewhat of a mark this offseason. I doubt he wants a full fire sale, but I think he's going to want to make a trade that's maybe bold that gets the juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah. Well, trading away their best hitter would be bold, that's for sure.
To
But maybe,
Cincinnati.
yeah, to a division rival, right? And it may be, hey, we cover we're gonna go full prospect heavy. I know that when he was with the Red Sox, that was a big focus of his, and we see the fruition of that with Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and people like that over at the Red Sox. So maybe there is some press that way where they're going after some higher upside prospects of ours for somebody who is already 28, right? Even though he's on the older side when it comes to that type of thing. So maybe he tries to flip something for that. But yeah, either way, it would be I would be shocked if he just said, here you go, slot in this guy to a division rival who we're chasing for the playoffs. That'd be interesting.
Brandon Lowe, this is a guy that when I look, it's like, man, this is what the Reds should have got instead of Gavin Lux. All no disrespect sent to Gavin Lux's way, but you look at like what he is. That's kind of what you needed, not a singles hitter. Brandon Lowe's not a good defensive second baseman at all. Can play first base. Only ended up starting 2 games in 2025. Has started 19 over his career. Has played a little bit in the outfield. I think if you got him, you'd be kind of thinking DH that has the flexibility to play second base and first base if you needed. But this is a guy, I mean, that this could be a legitimate bona fide power hitter. Only 1 year of control left, but could kind of maybe be a stopgap to help you be competitive next season.
Yeah, lefty that basically doesn't hit lefties at all. I don't think he played. The Rays are pretty good about this, exploiting the matchups and things like that. But 138 WRC plus against righties, and you said 31 bombs. Like, if we could have gotten that out of our DH, boy, things would have been a lot better. I think you're right. I think especially with how cheap he is, it's something that it would have been great to be able to capitalize on. I know that I'm not sure how many games. I guess he played 134 games last year. I know in the past he's a little bit older and he's been a little bit injury prone. But it's one of those things that if they were able to get creative, once again, it's with the Rays, but it's you'd like to see a bigger swing, but it's somebody that I think would definitely be an upgrade.
All right. Any other guys on the second base line you want to talk about, or you want to move on to third base?
We can move on to third base, but I think we just already traded for a third baseman. So
yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think
know how many of those.
Well, Nolan Arenado is the first name listed. I certainly don't think like that's a possibility with the money he's owed and the fact that if you got him, it'd be to play third base. The other two guys are I think worth mentioning because you could consider not playing them at third base, especially Alec Bohm because he's played first base. So there actually is that with him. I don't know if Josh Jung has played other positions or not. I didn't look that one up. But I'm sure if a guy can play third base, typically it's possible at least to play him other spots. Alec Bohm was a guy that I thought made a lot of sense for the Reds last year to go after a guy that for some reason just has not really been beloved by the Phillies. Was an all-star in 2024, dealt with a lot of injuries, especially late in the year last year. But this is a guy that last 3 seasons, 104, 113, 105 WRC plus. Has some power, but hasn't really fully tapped into it. Josh Jung is also interesting here, Mike. This is a guy that was the 8th overall pick in 2019. I'm kind of surprised he's on this list, but he's actually still under control through 2028. So, I mean, you're talking 3 full years of control. He's kind of had an up and down career. Did it 23 home runs in 2023. Has dealt with some injury. Only played 46 games in 2024. But a guy that's still young, there still is some runway that if the Rangers are looking to give him away, I'd be interested. Not sure I really would want to match probably either one of those prices, though.
Yeah, it looks like Jung has only played third base. So I'm not saying that he couldn't move him off, but that would, I think, complicate the third base predicament that we're already having. I guess maybe it's not a predicament to you. It's just like play Key Brian Hayes at third base and figure out the rest offensively. Yeah, I'm not. He is intriguing to me. I mean, it looks like he's gotten, whether it's been injury, he played well in their World Series run that they had. So still young. We'll see what he ends up being, but I'm just not sure necessarily where he fits in. If we're going to be committed to going full defense at third base, and then I feel like of the limited amount of moves that you would want the Reds to make up for the lack of offense at somebody like third base, you would want to bolster your outfield positions instead.
Yeah, and I don't think like I would want to like bring in a guy that was only a third baseman and move him kind of like they did with Gavin Lux. I don't really like that idea, but just the fact that he has 3 more years of control, I think it does give you more of a runway to potentially say, hey, we're probably going to play you at first base or left field or wherever their scouting would say. That just the years was the thing that intrigued me the most with Jung. Shortstop, they have Anthony Volpe on the list. I don't think we need to discuss that. We can
Man,
move
if the
on.
Reds fans got mad at Ellie De La Cruz errors, just wait for Anthony Volpe. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Center field, these are certainly some intriguing names. The first one's a guy we've talked about a lot in Luis Robert Jr. Owed $20 million that has a club option that most people think the White Sox are going to pick up. This is where I'm at with Robert. Like, I thought Robert made sense, especially at the trade deadline, but the White Sox didn't move him. And if the White Sox didn't move him at the trade deadline last year, it's just hard to see how his asking price is worth it. If literally no team in baseball was willing to meet it, with other teams that have far more financial ability to make up for giving away prospects, it's just hard to see. And I also, Mike, let me ask you this. Are we sure Robert's worth $40 million on a 2-year contract if he was a free agent?
Yeah, I think part of it is so I think because of that, you don't necessarily like he could stink and you could cut him. Like I don't think you're on the hook for that. I thought I was looking at his. Oh, maybe I'm wrong there. I was looking at his contract.
I know that you were out of it this year. I thought you had to pick up both. I could be wrong. Maybe they're
Oh,
both
maybe
club
I'm.
options.
I
They
thought
are
that $2
no, they-
million. I thought that $2 million was like that's your dead cap if you choose to cut him.
Okay,
That's
so
what.
I guess it looks like if I'm understanding his contract right, each year is a club option. So you could do a 1-year trial. But again, man, if you're giving up what we think the White Sox are going to want for this guy, you're going to think you want to pick that up, right?
Right. And I agree with you that clearly the asking price was way too high. The Reds were rumored as interested. I mean, this is a guy though that 7 outs above average in center field. Somebody that you could slot in there. It's going to immediately improve your defense there. Improve your. I think he was a 130 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, so that improves. He unfortunately wasn't very good against right-handed pitching this year. But career above over 100 WRC plus in right-handed pitching. And the one thing that you don't know how to gauge is just moving out of that situation,
The
right? We
Andrew
saw
Vaughn
it with,
effect.
the Andrew Vaughn effect. We could say the Key Brian Hayes effect, right?
Yeah.
Key Brian Hayes came over and hit more home runs in the first, 15 games that he played for the Reds than he had for the rest of the season for the Pirates. And so you just don't know how that is going to affect a player. And you would like to think that moving into a team that with some positive vibes and an actual shot to try to make the playoffs may help him with that. So that would be the bet that you'd be making in that. And I'm still open to it. Now, I don't know the specifics of the asking prices. They probably, if they were like, yeah, we want Chase Burns, it's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, hang up the phone. But it's one of those things that the more and more they hold on to him, it feels like the less and less leverage they have. So it's just like, because part of, I think the benefit was that you're getting this guy that could be, a power bat that is worth much more than $200 or $20 million, right? And you're running out of options for that. So now it's just like, hey, you're signing what could be a not good contract for only a year. Why are you gonna give up all these years of prospect control to get that?
It feels like for me with the White Sox, it seems like it's unlikely they trade him in the offseason. It seems like if I was trying to put myself in the White Sox shoes, it's probably a very scary place to go into. I would think you either decline his option, just say we're done, we're washing our hands, or we pick up the option with the idea of hoping he has a good first half and we trade him at the deadline after he's kind of established his back. I just don't see if a team wasn't willing to give up enough for him at the trade deadline last year. Now he costs more, and you already have to be on the hook for $20 million as opposed to at the trade deadline, you could have got him and only for sure been on the hook for like $4 or $5 million for the rest of the season. That's just why it makes it's hard for me to see a situation where he gets traded this offseason. Maybe I'm wrong, and the White Sox also are kind of a nutty organization that might just do something to do it.
Yeah, and they made that bet last year and it failed, right?
Yeah.
They didn't do that, and then he had a awful first half of the season that ended with him getting injured, and then they didn't trade him. So, they could be a little gun shy with, "Hey, we made this bet already and it didn't work." So, let's not double down on it. Let's cut our losses. Who knows?
Yeah. We shall see on that one. The next one is very intriguing. Jarren Duran. Obviously, this guy was an MVP level player in 2024. 6.8 Fangraphs version wins above replacement, a 131 WRC plus. I guess had a down year in 2025, but was still had a 111 WRC plus, 3.9 Fangraphs version wins a replacement. Good defensive center fielder. For some reason, the Red Sox want to move him.
Well,
I know they have a
they had
I
a
know they have a
platinum
ton,
glove guy in
I
center
know they have a
field.
ton of outfielders, but man, he's a incredibly valuable player. I'll just cut right to the chase, Mike. It feels like the only way you would get Jarren Duran is if you part with Hunter Green or maybe Chase Burns plus something else. Do you see another way of getting him?
No, it's very clear that the Red Sox are valuing him like that 6 win. I think he was 8 wins in Baseball Reference, in 2024. So they're valuing him as this player. And I think part of the reason that he's open for being traded is just because of some of the friction that's happened within the organization. I think with him and the move from center to left. Obviously, they have a good defender there, but and it's just hard to trade somebody like a generational talent like a Hunter Green or maybe even Chase Burns or Nick Lodolo, right? For somebody that has had a one peak year, basically one really good year, one very, very good year, but everything else has kind of been in the 2 to 3 win range, right? Defensively, he had 11 outs above average, I believe, in 2024. Regressed all the way back down to 2, was negative in all of his other seasons. So how much of this was just like something really clicked in 2024 and people get nervous about that. And, frankly, I'm nervous about that. I don't want to give up something for somebody. And then you paid for a season that you're never going to experience because, of, what he did in 2024. So to me, he's not worth that asking price. Maybe they'll come down from it. It's one of those things that I think they were willing to shop him because I think they might be able to get the best reasonable price for him and then feel good about the pieces they can plug in with Roman Anthony and all their young guys they have coming up. It's just like I don't see how the Reds will or frankly should capitulate to the high asking price that the Red Sox are asking here.
I think if Jarren Duran had more years than he did, I think I might be a little bit more open to the idea of a Green for Duran trade. But I mean, you would have Duran for 3 years. You currently have Green for 4 years, so you have an extra year on Green. It's wild though, Mike, and I know a lot of people hate this site, but this is the kind of thing that this site is the most valuable for because Green has a longer contract and there's dollars and stuff involved with that. They have Green at a 76.1 million surplus value. They have Duran at 73.1. I mean, so they literally have them almost neck and neck. They have Burns at 53.5.
Wow.
So yeah, my gut says no, that's too much to give up for Duran for Green. Chase Burns, it just seems like that would be very weird to kind of give up on him sort of that quick. I think it could be talked into that if you're not giving up too much more in addition to Burns, maybe. But Burns, I mean, you still have 6 years of control for Burns. So that's something factors into it. I'll say this, and I'll pass it back to you if you have any other thoughts. I don't think I like the Green for Duran deal, but I will say that would be a bold deal that it absolutely could be a win. It could absolutely be a trade you win if Green doesn't prove to be healthy. Like with pitchers, if he has injuries over the next several years before he reaches for, like, just say the next 3-4 years with Hunter Green are very injury riddled, that could be a great trade for you. But if it's not, and Hunter Green is what we think he can be, and kind of what he's been the last 2 years, just healthy, it's hard to see any way that Duran matches that value.
Yeah. And one other thing about it too, this probably wouldn't factor into their trade if they were actually talking trade. The Reds start the season next year against the Red Sox at Great American Ballpark. How wild would that be?
Yeah.
The Red Sox may just say, "Hey, Hunter Green, I know we got Garrett Crochet. Here you go. Go let it eat against your old team." That would be that'd be an interesting game to cover. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I think my final thought is I don't love it. I don't despise it. I'm not going to be a guy that says that it would be the worst trade ever, burn the franchise down, fire Nick Krall. I see how it could make sense, but you would almost, in my opinion, be gambling against Hunter Green's health. And I think if the Reds traded Hunter Green for Duran, it's because they don't believe in his health.
Yeah.
That's what I would leave it at.
Yeah. That'd be tough to see. That would be really tough for me to stomach if that were the case.
But Duran would absolutely be a player that, even if he's the player we saw in 2025 and not 2024, would be a massive boost for the Reds offense, right?
In the corner outfield. Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. Somebody that you could put in left field and it, has all kinds of speed you can put at the top of the lineup and would be definitely a plus to this team.
Deep South Commodities is a proud supporter of Chatterbox Reds and our Deep Drive of the Day, and DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. Looks like you for sure drinks the Mariners.
Oh, no.
You did it. You did it, Mike.
Oh, no. What's the score now?
4-3 Blue Jays.
My gosh.
I think Springer just hit a 3-run home run. I didn't see it, but I'm sure this is riveting content for people listening after the fact that watched the game. But we'll move on. Fun discussion about Jarren Duran. I think we could probably do a whole hour-long segment on him. But yeah, definitely an intriguing player. Next guy is maybe even more intriguing, Oneil Cruz. I read someone that was writing about potential trades this offseason, and the tagline they put with this was so fitting. It was, every team thinks they could fix Oneil Cruz. I was like, yeah. Every GM is salivating at the fact, we can fix him. We can do what the Pirates can't do. We can turn him into that superstar. And there's good reason for that. And the Reds have pulled off a trade head-to-head. I would certainly be open to the idea. I don't know exactly logistically how it would work. But a player of Oneil Cruz's talent, sign me up in Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, I think he broke the record for the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era last year. So it's just like, I think he went 121 or something ridiculous like that. So he obviously has all the tools. The experiment in center field, I think a lot of people like to point to that when they're talking about, well, should Ellie move out there? And it started off bad, but I think it did kind of turn around. I think his numbers near the end of the year turned to be a little bit better.
A zero outs above average.
So not actively hurting the team, which is I would say is good. But he seems to me like somebody that I'd be okay if somebody else chose to go and try to reclamate him. And if they did, I'd say good job for you. I don't have high hopes for the Reds being able to do something like that.
Yeah, I would love it. Again, he's one of those players, and I think a lot of these players check this box of, I don't think I'd want to give up enough for what they're going to want for him. So yeah, I don't think so. Love him, but I don't think I'd give up enough. All right, the left fielders. The first two names are names that have been certainly mentioned a lot with the Reds. We talked already about Stephen Kwan. I think we love Kwan. I don't think that I'm willing to meet the asking price for a all-star player, and Kwan is absolutely an all-star player, but it doesn't fit that one tool that you desperately need of power.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gold Glover as well. Incredible defender in left field. And obviously a Tito favorite. And yeah, but I think I'm with you. I think it's one of those things that Cleveland understands what they have. He was available for them, but then, they went on an amazing run after not trading him. So I think it would cost too much. It would be a dream. I'd love that. It's just like, a better TJ Friedel, right? This guy that's going to get on base and, but give you no power, right? So he would be able to do what Tito wants people to do a lot better than, Friedel was able to do. But yeah, I think it's going to be too much to offer, or the Reds are going to have to give up too much to Cleveland in order to get. I mean, maybe Will Benson. What do you think? I think they'll take Will Benson back. Admit defeat.
I think they probably want a little bit more.
Who says no?
My guy Will. Yeah, Kwan only 2 years left of control. Taylor Ward. This is a guy that Reds fans have been wanting to get for years, and the fact that he keeps getting brought up year after year in trade rumors for the Angels and never gets moved. I don't know. Maybe this is the year under his last year of control. So this is their last year to move him. I mean, he would be. I mean, you talk about just perfect trade fits that wouldn't cost the entire moon, wouldn't be like a Jarren Duran price, but actually he's probably, I always say this, he's probably the best player that moves the needle that doesn't break the bank.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's always weird. It feels like, making trades, you want to make trades with some of these not as well-respected franchises, right? Like the Angels or the Pirates or the White Sox, right? But sometimes it feels like maybe the asking price is too much, or they just don't properly evaluate what they have, right? They have this terrible team that he's not going to be a part of. The next good team is like, you should get rid of him for prospects, but who's going to tell the Angels that, right? It's one of those things that I think for sure could be a boost. With only a year of control. I think he's a little bit older, right? I think he's like over 30 as well. I don't remember specifically his age. So that, you don't want to get locked
31.
into 31. So, I mean, not ancient, but it's, getting to the point. I think Candelario is 31. So it's just like, you never know where, sometimes the offense can just kind of fall off a cliff. So, but yeah, I completely agree. I think would be somebody that you could really move the needle offensively, power-wise, and fill a left field spot, and field just be like, okay, that's what it's gonna be. Kind of like what they did with Austin Hayes when he was healthy, except for just a better player.
Yeah, 36 home runs in 2025. Mike, this is the first time I can remember seeing this for a player that didn't play in, like, I don't know, Colorado or somewhere. Hit 35 home runs, said it only would have been 35 if he played for the Reds. How about that?
Look at that.
So we would be suppressing his power by a whole whopping home run, and we'd have to only settle for a 35 home run.
I would settle for 14 more than any Red hit this year. So
what other point here on Ward and a player in general that has 1 year left of control that I don't think I've ever brought up, but I think is a really important thing. It makes so much more sense for the Reds to acquire Taylor Ward in the offseason than at the trade deadline. And here's why. If you get him in the offseason, you can offer him next season. And we know how valuable that is. Ding, 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 Mr. Sal Stewart, come on down. Those picks are incredibly valuable. So if you're giving up prospects in the offseason, you're going to turn that into another prospect unless Taylor Ward has a disaster of a year. But I mean, given Ward's track record, you have to feel pretty good that he would be qualified, that he would not only be qualifying offer worthy, but would decline your qualifying offer. next offseason. So that's something that I think is important to consider, and something that I think for the Reds, I want to say this now, so we're not, when we're talking trade deadline 2026, this is when you need to do your big moves. It needs to be done in the offseason. The trade deadline is just to add the Anduhars, the Littell type pieces, not to add these big time pieces, because if you acquire Taylor Ward at the trade deadline, you can't offer him a qualifying offer. You have to have the player for the full year.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's hard to see. Well, I guess you could, I've been known to jinx things around here, but there's you would like to see that, hey, if you can get him for that final year, that his platform year, or that his contract year that they say he goes out, even if maybe he's going to get less AAV, he's going to want more than 1 year, right? He's going to say, I'm 32 now. I'm going to go get that 4-year contract instead. I'm turning down your qualifying offer. And yes, I will take that. And the Reds will take that qualifying offer, whether it's in the first round or the second round, depending on how, we'll take that extra draft pick. I think that the Reds have shown a pretty good job of being able to turn those into big league players.
All right, the other two guys on here, Lars Nootbaar, player's had a nice career. Only 28 years old. From the Cardinals, that had a down year. He'd been really good from 2022 through 2024. Put up a 96, a respectable WRC plus last year. And then Jasson Domínguez, a player that I think was one of the top potential returns for Luis Castillo back in the day. Reds ended up going the Mariners route, and it's been a rocky trade, but Marte certainly making it start to flip back to maybe a win for the Reds. We'll have to wait and see on that. Any interest in those two? I'm just so surprised that the Yankees would be wanting to give up on Domínguez.
Yeah, to me that seems. I think Dominguez's role with the Yankees is going to blossom next year, because this year he was blocked by both Bellinger and Grisham, right? And I think only one of those guys is coming back for the Yankees. They're going to either pony up for one of the two and say, hey, Dominguez, here's you get this other spot. Now, he's been tough defensively. I think that's part of why he was, kind of relegated to the bench there, but still a guy with a whole bunch of upside. You can ask Craig about what his baseball card values were coming on up. Somebody that still has a lot of upside that I think that would command far more on the trade docket than the Reds would be willing to give up. Lars Nootbaar kind of falls in the same. To me, he doesn't move the needle enough. It's just like, to me, that's just, kind of rearranging the deck chairs with average 100 WRC plus players, right? So maybe, but it's one of those things that I don't know. It doesn't do too much for me for what he would be able to bring back or offer.
It wouldn't be an offseason show if I don't make people angry and say I don't think he's better than Will Benson. So got to throw that dig in. We'll put that at the 42-minute mark for those of you in the comments. I don't want to make you look it up. 42:25 is what it says. We might add a little bit in the actual timestamp, but you can put it in there. Nick Kirby, I'm angry at you at the 42-minute mark. There you go. Right field. We're almost through this, Mike. Nick Castellanos, Bryan Reynolds, and Adolis García. Nick Castellanos, obviously the most polarizing. I would say this, like, if the Phillies are giving him away and like paying most of his salary, the actual player, if you would use him in a platoon role, I mean, he still hits left-handed pitching very well. It has a long track record of that, but it just does not seem like he's going to be happy with that type of role. That's why he's getting shipped out from the Phillies. That the report was the Phillies are either going to trade him or release him this offseason, which maybe that's just some posturing, but it definitely seems like the Phillies are done with Nick Castellanos. I would say if he could actually do that role, he would be perfectly great. He's a DH and he's a terrible outfielder, but you could put him out there in a pinch. But I just don't think, number one, he's going to be accepting of that. And number two, I don't think Tito's going to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like there was strife when he was in Cincinnati because he was still
During
bad
COVID.
defensively there. And it
Yeah.
was like, hey, we want you to DH more and he was like, no, I want to play in the field. I like playing in the field. I was like, well, yeah, but you stink in the field. You are the worst defensive outfielder, I think, in the field. So I feel like that's something that's just wouldn't be a good fit with what I think the Reds would want. Also, don't trade for a guy they said we're going to either trade him or cut him, right? They've now told you it's like, "Oh, okay. When they cut him, they're on the hook for that salary and you could sign him for the league minimum if you wanted to." So it's just like don't trade for it was weird when they announced that cuz it felt like they gave up all of their leverage. But yeah, he's not while I loved what he did in Cincinnati, I get why he was a fan favorite the way he played the game. I'm not sure that he would be a good fit with this team specifically, but also, what this team would be asking him to do.
It feels almost like for Nick Castellanos to like work for the Reds, he would need to go make one more stop and kind of
And
be
get
told
cut.
again
Yeah.
that you cannot play in the field. You are a platoon player, and then maybe he would be fine. But I don't think he's there yet. I think he still thinks. Seems like Mr. Castellanos should probably end up in Colorado, get a chance to play every day, and hey, you know what? I have a real chance to increase his value. It almost and I say that it's serious, kind of joking, but kind of feels like he needs to go to a non-contender that just says, yeah, well, fine, we'll play you every day. We'll see if you can sort of reestablish your value. But just at this point, he hasn't proven defensively and against right-handed pitching that he's an everyday big league player.
Yeah, I agree.
Bryan Reynolds, another Pirate. I mean, this would have to be a Pirates eating a lot of money, which I think for any team to take him would be that. Obviously, Bryan Reynolds is a talented player. I just still I think $76 million through 2031. I mean, sure, if there's a way to make that work, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see them eating something and having that little flexibility, like being able to. I was surprised when they did that with Ke'Bryan Hayes, let alone Bryan Reynolds, who offers less defensive value, will be older, I think, and it's for longer. So I don't see how that one works out with the Reds.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. How about Adolis García? This is certainly the type of player that you don't have to squint and go, wow, it has the potential to be that bat you're looking for. I mean, he hit 39 home runs in 2023. Has dealt with some injuries, still at 25 in 2024. But this last year was down to 19, and the numbers really cratered on him. He's still owed a lot of money. This is what I like. We've talked about this before. I see he's 1 year left. He's still owed $12 million. And I go, ooh, he's probably not worth much more than that on the open market. So he won't cost a lot. This is the kind of guy though, where you're talking, all right, let's make a risky gamble. Let's see if we can bring in a big bat. This is the kind of player I love to target. I think he's probably a lot of people are going to look at his last 2 years and just dismiss it, but I don't know, man. He's the kind of guy. He feels like that Ryan Ludwig. You might not be as old as me, Mike, but he
No,
feels
I
like that.
remember Ryan
He
Ludwig.
feels like that Ryan Ludwig type signing that you they sign you're like Ryan Ludwig, but he still had something left in the tank and was a massive reason why the Reds had so much success in 2012.
Yeah. I mean, his 2023 with 39 home runs, 4.5 WAR like on B reference, man, that would be, and I think pretty good defensively. I think he played left and or right and center there. I don't know if he doesn't have much left field experience, so but you could just fit him in at DH or something or in the around those lines. I think that's somebody with definitely more upside, and he has struggled with injury, but it's somebody that if you're able to maybe because isn't there a new regime coming in Texas? I know there's at least a new manager. I think Bruce Bochy is
Yeah,
out,
Bruce
and
Bochy's out.
former Red Skip Schumacher, I think, is the
Yeah.
new manager. So anytime there's turnover like that, people holdovers from the old regime maybe are a little bit more expendable than you would expect. So I agree on something like more of a pretty reasonable deal where people go, oh, he was available for that, to come and go mash in Great American Ballpark. that does sound pretty appealing. I know he's on the kind of the decline when it comes to what he's been able to do, especially in the last 2 years. But boy, if we could catch lightning in a bottle for his final year leading into a contract year, that would be. And there's your, some that's also somebody like a Taylor Ward, like you mentioned, right? Who is he through? Yeah, Garcia is also through 26, right? You sign him, and maybe you are able to do the qualifying offer, like you're talking about as well. Maybe he is worth it enough. He goes out and hits 40 home runs. That's somebody that's going to turn down your qualifying offer, and you're going to get a nice little draft pick for it.
Maybe more of a gamble to get it, but it's certainly possible
Cost
because
less.
he's hit 39 home runs in a season. So I mean, it's certainly um, something that's feasible there. Um, Garcia, where are we at here? Gets a pretty big GABP boost. Would go from 19 to 23. How about this, Mike? In 2024, he would have gone from 25 to 37, and in 2023, he would have gone from 47 to 55. So his swing would definitely play better at Great America Ballpark. Globe Life Field, 24th in park effects. So it would be a massive boost for him. And honestly, of all the players we've mentioned so far, this one might feel like the most realistic out of all of them to me.
Yeah. Boy, I could definitely talk myself into this. Seeing, you know, those big burly power hitters coming out with guys on opening day, and you can see him coming in and hitting a home run in his Reds debut, and just all of a sudden Reds fans are immediately smitten with this guy. Yeah, I can definitely see myself getting excited about having somebody with this potential power output in our lineup.
Yeah, and my last point on this is if all it takes is giving up your 15th ranked prospect, it's basically just money that you gave up to bring this guy in. It's not a player that's going to really hurt you. At least we don't think a long ways down the road. So that's one thing that I like the most about him. All right, we got some pitchers on here. I'm just going to run through them all, as I don't think we're really all that intrigued with pitchers. See if anything really catches your eye. But this list includes Sonny Gray, Luis Severino, Sandy Alcantara, Mitch Keller, Jeffrey Springs, Freddy Peralta, Bailey Ober, MacKenzie Gore, Joe Ryan, Drew Rasmussen, Edward Cabrera. Mike, I would think if the Reds did maybe trade Green or Lodolo or maybe Singer, which I think is really unlikely, that's where you would maybe see them try to go back and get Sonny Gray. Would make a lot of sense if the Cardinals are eating a little bit of that money, just because obviously has the Reds connection and works so well with Derek Johnson. I think Luis Severino is also a sneaky guy. If the A's are looking to get out of that contract, pitched in that ballpark that we saw 3 games, that it was like, yeah, I'll take a chance that guy getting out of that crazy ballpark, even Great America Ballpark, could find some of the success again. Those are the 2 names that maybe intrigue me out of that. The rest of them, I just don't see really how any of those somehow fall to the Reds.
Yeah, I think the home road splits with Severino were huge because of that bandbox. Another thing to think about with Severino is they signed, and it's been pretty well reported about this. They signed Luis Severino to the largest deal that the A's have ever done, and they basically did it to avoid having the players' union file a grievance against them. They basically had to get above a certain threshold, and if they didn't do that for X amount of years in a row, they were gonna get a grievance filed against them. So they basically signed this dude to keep themselves from getting sued. So I don't know whether that means he's immediately on the market this year, because their payroll is not. They basically hit that threshold, and they're like, all right, now the monkey's off our back. But that is somebody that is very interesting. A's have not been shy about wanting to shed payroll as best they can. So that's what that does interest me with that. I see a lot of people from the NL Central, your Mitch Keller, your Freddy Peralta, even Sonny Gray, that it just feels, I don't know how, I guess you're right. We have seen some, but I just wouldn't expect there to be too much especially when it comes to starting pitching. Yeah, sure. I'd love to get Freddy Peralta, but are the Brewers going to trade their best pitcher to an in division rival? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Maybe the Pirates would trade Mitch Keller. I do not see Freddy Peralta ending up in Cincinnati.
No.
I'd love to eat my words on that, but I don't see that happening. It's fascinating you said that about the A's. I did not know that at all. Because my thought was a player that I have in the additional players is Brent Rooker. Could there be a way that you add Severino into that deal to lower the prospects that you'd have to give away because you're eating some of that money? That would be maybe a thought for me. We'll get to him in a second. The two relief, they only have two relief pitchers mentioned, probably because they're just like I said when we did this before.
Who the heck knows?
Good luck figure this out. The first one though is really fascinating. Is Carlo Estevez, who's $12 million. The reason it's fascinating because there's reports the Reds were trying to get him last year, so the Reds certainly liked him. I don't know if they're looking to add a $12 million reliever, but it's there is at least that potential there. Pete Fairbanks is great. I just don't see the Reds ponying that much up prospect wise for a reliever.
Yeah, I think Estevez went to the Royals, right?
Yep.
Is that correct? But they were definitely in, like it was the top 3 or whatever for trying to sign him. So potentially there, but I think you're right. I think they're gonna probably live in the lower tier, and we'll see. We'll see. Well, I guess we'll see depending on what they choose to do with some of these people they have. Right? They have a choice to make about Barlow, a choice to make about Suter, and maybe one other person as well in that bullpen. Jabot, I think, is the other one. I think we all think Jabot is probably going to get cut, but it's one of those things where what they choose to do there may change how aggressive they are on the the trade market. We saw them go out and get Rogers, and then also be active in trying to add here, but a left-handed reliever is still something this team does not have, and unless it's going to be Brandon Williamson, like Sam Moll is about it, and I think that's a huge deficiency. So I could see maybe some trade when it comes to trying to add in that regard.
All right, so that's through that list that you can find that on Spoke Truck. Really good list, the best compiled list that I saw of names. I added a few more here. We'll just run through quickly. The first one, Isan Paredes, and I added this one because the report that I read literally said these words: the Astros are openly talking about moving some hitting for pitching help. So I was like, well, that's what it sounds like the Reds could potentially do. I don't know what he would cost. He has 2 more years of control. Not a great defensive third baseman, but also not a liability there. So like I kind of look at more like the liability third baseman make more sense because you make them a first baseman or DH, like actually Eugenio Suarez. We had talked about that. But yeah, I don't really see this one, but the fact they're looking for pitching, I think was worth mentioning.
Yeah, Paredes, I remember when he got traded to the Astros, that we're talking about how, I think his value gets maximized in a place like Houston as he hits almost all of his home runs as a pull right-handed batter. So having the Crawford boxes to hit to feels like that's the perfect place for him. So I guess it feels like if you were going to make a trade for somebody like that, you're immediately reducing his value, even though you have Great American Ballpark, which isn't huge. It's just all of a sudden he's not hitting at literally the best ballpark to hit home runs for a right-handed batter, which is Houston. So it's I don't know if how much of an upgrade you'd be able to get out of Paredes for that.
All right, the next guy, Brent Rooker, a guy that Reds fans have wanted for a long time. And I tell you what, this guy is really year after year kind of proven 3 straight years over 30 home runs. I mean, he absolutely kind of fits that need. Just I don't know if the A's haven't traded him yet. They ended up extending him. Who knows what the A's are doing? I mean, certainly I'd like it. Just seems unlikely, but absolutely would fit what the Reds are looking for.
Yeah, I like that idea that you had of, being able to pair him with Severino or somebody else, a pitcher that you're able to, talk about eating salary. And while we could even send, they like to get those, you know, they could be somebody that I could see being a landing spot for somebody like a a Spencer Steer or like a veteran that's, I don't know if Spencer Steer is necessarily who they would want, but somebody like that, a veteran who's played in the majors so that they can be able to continue to fill out that roster. Maybe even some of these guys that were in our AAA system tearing it up, a Reese Hines or a Blake Dunn or something like that, could be something to help fill out the rest of that trade.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It's hard to see like the Reds finding a good fit because it feels like Burns is too much for Rooker, Green's too much for Rooker. Lodolo, I don't think is enough for Rooker and doesn't fit. Kind of, they're wanting controllable guys. Abbott maybe would be the only one, but I feel like Abbott's almost maybe the least likely of the Reds group to be traded, just because he's the one guy that still is proven and controllable and doesn't cost anything, which is very attractive for where the Reds are at right now. So I just don't know if the Reds have a pitcher that necessarily makes sense, but the pitcher for Rooker and then getting Severino back makes a lot of sense to me. It's you know what? The guy I forgot about, maybe Rhett Lauder. You have to add more than I think Rhett Lauder, but maybe Rhett Lauder in a package for Rooker and you get Severino back. That could make a lot of sense to me.
Where you're able to eat some more of that salary and get a nice pitcher and a nice controllable bat as well.
The next one, this is probably a pipe dream here, but it was mentioned on a report with just kind of the Braves kind of in their weird spot. Matt Olson.
Sure.
Under control through 2029 at $21 million a year, which is not a lot for how good of a player that he's been. I mean, we're talking about, going out and getting a Schwarber. He's I think he's as good as Pete Alonso overall value. Am I crazy on that?
No, and to be honest, one thing that obviously everyone knows about his incredible plate discipline and just like how well he hits. I think one underrated thing that you would be picking up with Olson is, this is the guy who's probably going to win the Gold Glove at first base, who is going to cover a lot of ills from some people that we know on the left side of the infield that maybe doesn't throw the ball to first base very well. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would love to have 6'5" Matt Olson over there trying to, save Ellie from 5 errors a year. You know what I mean? So I think there's that aspect of it that I think would be hugely underrated if they were able to do this. Now, I agree with you. I feel it's like a huge pipe dream. I don't know why they would give up. I don't know. To me, they still are in their competitive window with Acuna and Matt Olson, frankly. So I'm not sure why they would then sell off a piece of that. But, if they were selling low, I would gladly take him.
It was mentioned in the report. And I mean, I certainly think, that would be a guy. Yeah, it seems like a pipe dream. Guy that maybe less of a pipe dream. Another Cardinal, a guy that I didn't really think about. But Willson Contreras, he's no longer a catcher. He's basically a first baseman DH. I tell you what, he kind of fits that DH type mold guy that I'm looking for this offseason.
Yeah, I have a hard time feeling happy or about wanting to acquire either one of the Contreras brothers. I think all the time in the NL Central has made me dislike him. He's not like Yadier Molina hate for me, but he's kind of close. Because he was Cubs for a while. This like fake tough guy that leans over the plate, takes one off of his elbow pad, and then starts to yell at you because he's mad he got hit by the pitch. I don't know. Yeah, I guess he could be an offensive fit, but it would take a while for me to get to being like, all right, I got to cheer for this guy.
Under control through 2027 at $18 million a year. So like that's like a pretty fair. It's one of those like that's not breaking the bank. It's not too far of a commitment. And not going to cost you a ton of prospects because he still has 18 million. Yeah, that's a guy that to me that would fit for sure. I don't care. I don't care if you played for whoever. If you're going to help the Reds win,
I know. You're less emotional about it than I am.
No, just help me win. All I care about is winning. Brenton Doyle, a guy who had a absolutely miserable, and I mean a miserable year in Coors Field. But a guy that has all the tools of like a superstar center fielder, maybe that Andrew Vaughn type fit. I'd be willing to certainly take a flyer, but it would have to be on the bargain that he kind of played in 2025.
Yeah, and we have seen in the past a lot of like that. Andrew Vaughn probably should be the Coors effect coming out of there, because we've seen so many people, the Nolan Arenados, the DJ LeMahieu's, even this year Ryan McMahon, right? These guys that come. Not only is it a bad situation up there because you start the season and I think they fired their coach within the first month of them playing, but also it's been pretty well documented just the effect. While Coors, obviously the ball flies out, it's just anytime you go anywhere else, the ball behaves differently, right? The ball breaks more. It's very difficult to go back and forth between that. So yeah, this would be the year to go get Brenton Doyle, right? If you can get him for super cheap, because he still plays a really good center field. I think he has the strongest outfield arm of anybody in the league. Well, I guess maybe Oneil Cruz maybe is stronger than him, but we've already documented how crazy freakish he is. But just like somebody that, maybe you are able to buy low on, and then you say, hey, come bat ninth, play center field for this Reds, play great defense, and try to turn things around. Maybe that's I kind of like that. I think that's sneaky something. Going and taking advantage of the Rockies is always something I'm here for.
I don't think there'd be a ball that would get past him at Great American Ballpark playing center field too.
Yeah,
I mean,
all over the place.
Yeah. My last one. This is a wild one. I maybe just want to get your reaction. Devin Williams. Let's buy low.
Yeah, boy, we'd be buying low. Is he under control still for the Yankees?
He must be, because he was on a list here.
Okay.
Oh, the Marlins are interested in him.
Well, yeah, man, that would be crazy. You'd definitely be paying for past performance, as this year was a big time struggle for him. But I don't know. Depending on what on how eager the Yankees are to get rid of him, I guess you could make that work. We've already been through how we're gonna need arms in that bullpen somewhere, and the only thing is, does he come? I guess he wasn't necessarily the closer for the Yankees. Would he be the closer? Would we say, here you go, Devin Williams, now you're the closer? Or would it be you have to earn it over Santillan, who, frankly, I guess I haven't looked at the numbers, but, pitched pretty well this year and didn't have a lot of the lowlights that I know Devin Williams did.
Williams has 1 year left, 1 year, $8.6 million.
I don't hate that.
I mean, Mike, this guy had a 2.68 FIP in 2025. Yeah. I mean, he has all the makings of Sonny Gray.
Yeah, bounce back guy.
Didn't work in New York.
Yeah.
This is a guy that I don't think the Yankees are dumb enough to give him away. But
if they were, we'd be listening.
And I might even do like a Chase Petty for Devin Williams.
Chase Petty is going to come out throwing 100 and starting a playoff game for him in a couple of years.
That's
the way they develop pitching. But yeah, that would be interesting. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
One of the relief. If you're talking like a bold reliever move, because relievers are volatile, so why not get the volatile guy that could actually be one of the best relievers on the planet?
Right. Yeah. Buy the dip.
Yeah. Well, that's all. We went through a lot of them, and you officially jinxed the Toronto Blue Jays into the World Series. Jeff Hoffman closed out the game, Mike.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
I was like, we're just going to do a 20-minute show here. I'll be able to catch the end of the game. No, me and Mike get talking. I should have split this up into 7 different ones, but hopefully you got a good idea of all the potential trade targets, or at least the top 50. I think we went through all of them. Hope you had a good time. Mike, I had a good time talking with you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Always love talking baseball with you.
All right, good stuff. Well, Mike is also a part of Chatterbox Bengals, so you can be sure to check that out. They do a full day of shows on game day. So 1 o'clock on Sunday against the New York Football Jets, the worst team in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong with Joe Flacco? the most likable quarterback in Cincinnati Bengals history. I better not say that. That's
No.
I'm cutting that out if I feel like it. But no, you guys do. You'll be live 12:30, do a half-hour pregame show live during the whole game. Watch along, great place for Bengals fans to hang out and chat during the game. Come on for a halftime show, kind of give some thoughts and analysis. Then after the game, a full podcast. Chatterbox Bengals also available everywhere you get podcasts. All kinds of other great content here on Chatterbox Sports. I know, Mike, you're a big fan of the local soccer team. FC
right.
Cincinnati, they got a playoff game on Monday. The fellas on the Flying Lion podcast broke down their whole first round playoff matchup against the Columbus Crew.
That's right.
Best of three, right?
Yeah, best of 3. I think game 2 is up here in Columbus where I live. I'm going to try to go to that game, I think.
There you go.
So
there
excited
you go.
about it.
Be sure to check those guys out. They do great work. And then also Chatterbox Bearcats. A lot of content with Bearcats stuff flowing in. So be sure to check all that stuff out here on Chatterbox Sports. Links to all that stuff is in the episode notes below if you're listening in podcast form. But Mike, appreciate you again as always. We'll come back again soon. And whenever there's breaking news, expect something from Chatterbox Reds. Have a great day. Go Reds.